Good evening, Mary. Congratulations. I didn't know that.
We're starting rumors.
I'd like to gavel in our regularly scheduled meeting for April 15th, 2013. If you'd all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, right now.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Here.
Alderwoman Manister.
Here.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderman Toohey.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Robertson.
Here.
Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Harper.
Here.
Thank you. Before we move on to the other agenda items, in light of the tragic events that happened in Boston today, if we could maybe have a moment of silence for not only the victims but our first responders and the hospitals and people that are helping take care of the victims there in Boston today. So if we could please have a moment of silence, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Next item, item 3, approve of the agenda for the regular Board of Alderman meeting for April 15, 2013. Any changes to the agenda? Alderman Saunders?
Yes, I question going into closed meeting for the municipal and state auditor. Is the state auditor here today to meet with us?
No, I'm giving the report.
Okay. Why are we, as far as our new audit, the goals and objectives, they should be discussed in open session? We shouldn't be discussing individual employees or the legal action. We're going to discuss the one that I asked the Meridian to be discussed, giving us an update on that. So I'm not understanding why we're going into closed session to meet with our new auditors, Showalter and Jabouri. And on the March 29th City Administrator report, Bola, you had indicated that the State Auditor's Office advised us to go into closed session. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that information?
Well, initially I was told that given the nature of the conversation that Showalter and Jabouri would like to have with the board, that it is a discussion that could be held in executive session.
Who from the State Auditor's Office said that?
I don't know specifically. It was just conveyed to me.
Well, I spoke with Regina Pruitt and Chris Vetter, our auditor, and Mr. Schweik himself, and he said that kind of advice would never be given by their office. They would never recommend whether or not we should go into closed session other than when they're coming to meet with us. And also, the results of the state audit should not be discussed.
I have no intention of doing that.
Okay, so that's not, so I don't understand why Showalter and Jabouri cannot.
Those are two separate items.
I'm sorry.
My update regarding the state audit and Showalter and Jabouri's conversation with the board are two separate items.
Okay, so is Showalter and Jabouri, where is that coming on the agenda?
That's an executive session.
Why is that an executive session?
Because of the nature of the conversation they would like to have with the board.
I guess, can we be more specific going in? I mean, the intent of it, could I have Showalter and Jabouri, please, someone from there come forward?
Jim,
Well, I think that would go into the nature of the questions that they
Exactly.
want to ask. So
Right.
we
It
need
defeats
to
the
go
purpose.
in, and I think once at that point you will find that it's appropriate or not. It was at their request, so.
Correct.
Okay, first it was at the state auditor's
No,
request.
what they were
no,
saying
you're
is that the
confusing.
state
It's two different
auditor
items.
says
let
that
me
it
read
is
this.
allowed.
Showalter and Jabouri would like to meet with the mayor and board of aldermen on Monday, April 15th in executive session for an audit entrance. The state auditor's office recommends the meeting be held in executive session.
Mm-hmm.
So the state auditor said they would not make that recommendation. Mr. Schweik said absolutely not. He said we would never give advice on that. So I would like for Showalter and Jabouri to tell me why we're going into closed session.
That's a frank.
That defeats
Why don't we just
the
go to closed
purpose.
session and find out?
That
not
defeats
Because
Tell
it's
us.
inappropriate to vote to go into
In your
closed
opinion.
session if it's
Why don't we
not
go
an
to
issue
closed
that
session and find
belongs.
out, and if it's not appropriate, we'll close it.
Why
It's
is
just
it
ridiculous.
Can we ask our city attorney?
Frank, your opinion, please.
I don't know the specifics of what they want to discuss, but there are matters that the auditors are entitled to discuss in executive session that remain closed.
Okay, well, I'll at least ask that the goals and objectives of the audit be discussed in open session, and the pertinent questions that they need to ask us that are specific to employee personnel, not general, not, we have a problem with payroll or timesheets, but specific to individuals that need to go into closed session, that those be discussed in closed session. So can we amend the agenda to have Showalter and Jabouri do a presentation as far as the goals and objectives for the residents to hear? Where would you like to, I guess, after presentation,
We're
recognition,
working on the
item
agenda right
5?
now. If you want to make a motion to
I move
remove
that
something
we-
from the agenda, then
I move that we amend the agenda, and at item number 5, we add the presentation, Showalter and Jabouri, to discuss the goals and objectives of the audit, the financial audit.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Alderman Harper,
Yes.
Alderman Nguyen,
No.
Alderman Robertson,
No.
Alderman Kramer,
No.
Alderman Tui,
No.
Alderman Leahy,
No.
Alderwoman Manister,
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Your Honor?
Yes, Alderman Lay.
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
And second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper,
Yes.
Alderman Nguyen,
Yes.
Alderman Robertson,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Tui,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister,
No.
Alderwoman Saunders.
No.
Thank you. Next item, item 4, consideration approval of the minutes from the regular Board of Alderman meeting from March 18th, 2013. Alderwoman Saunders.
Okay. On page 2 of the minutes, okay, on March 18th is where we're talking about. Okay, so it would have to come in where we are talking about loggers. So at the bottom of the page, or prior to the motion being seconded, I guess 32 hours weekly, it was discussion after the motion was made. Alderwoman Saunders asked why we need to define, why do we need to define loggers' definition of a full-time employee? And Julie Mbola confirmed it's loggers, Julie Eccles and Mbola confirmed it's loggers' definition. Mayor Kelly stated it puts more participants in their plan. And then also it was confirmed the elected officials are a separate category. And then on page 3, at the top, Alderwoman Saunders asked that the phrase acting under the authority of the mayor and board of aldermen, does that legally grant the city administrator authority without coming to us for a vote? And Attorney Hayes said no. I asked then if it doesn't transfer authority from the Board of Aldermen to the city administrator, and Attorney Hayes said no.
Where
And
is that?
then At the top of the page, it would be before that first motion was made. It was the discussion with regards to that.
So are you adding that?
Yes. Well, it was, yes, I'm adding it, but it was the discussion that was had. And then at the end, okay, and then right before at the end of all the discussion, as far as before we vote to approve the employee manual, so I guess after that, page 88, the motion passed. Alderwoman Saunders asked, referring to page 75, if newly hired employees were signing a letter stating that they no longer accrue the 120 sick days. Bolas stated that employees hired after November 2012 were signing that letter. Alderman Kramer stated legally we are better protected to extend those benefits to all employees up until the date the manual was adopted. And that's it for that minute.
Is that a motion to make those, add those?
Yes. I move that we accept the March 18th minutes as amended.
We need to do the amendments first. So a motion to make those amendments. Is there a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Thank you. All in favor of those additions, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Now motion to approve the minutes. Or is there any other
Okay.
changes?
No, is this a new step, though? I mean, we have said as amended in the past.
But we have to amend them first. We have to make the motion to amend them and then approve them
Okay.
as amended.
Okay.
A motion to approve the agenda as amended, please.
So
The
moved, Your
minutes,
Honor.
the minutes.
Or minutes, I'm sorry, minutes. And second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
April 1st minutes.
Yeah. Next item, approval of the regular minutes from the April 1st, 2013 Board of Alderman meeting. Any changes?
Yep. I have
Alderwoman
changes.
Saunders?
Page 2, the last paragraph, I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the bottom. Actually, there was, at that it says, there was also a question of the air tank, and Chief Jury said this is an absolute requirement for the truck. And then Alderwoman Saunders asked if we have been saving for the truck for the past 10 years. Bola stated no, but we will be doing this, we will do this going forward on all large capital expenditures. Alderwoman Saunders questioned how much interest we will be paying, approximately $55,000. And then I have just one other on page 6. Okay, and I guess request for qualification compensation survey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The 16th line down, it starts with stated her unfamiliarity with salary caps. I guess right before that, the sentence right, the beginning of that sentence, one line up. Alderwoman Saunders stated Alderman Kramer brought up the salary caps and stated her unfamiliarity with the salary caps and thinks we should be able to reward employees with a bonus system or something. And then if you continue on 2 lines down the sentence, the board is willing to take action based on the results. As stated, we wouldn't cut benefits of existing employees. They would be grandfathered in, but we would, grandfathered in, but
Is this
we
all
would use
under
the info
line
for
16?
moving forward and determining if we continue the benefits.
Does this start at line 16?
Yes. And then also Alderwoman Saunders stated the compensation survey is an excellent tool, and I have argued for it from the beginning. I didn't win the day when it came to the budget. If we have extra money at the end of the year, it's an excellent tool. Bola agreed.
Where does that go?
Well, it's kind of hard when you have
Why don't you
summarized
actually
minutes.
submit your changes, and then we'll bring these minutes back at the next meeting.
Okay.
Alderman Harper?
I just have an easy one. It's on page 3 at the top. My vote was not captured. It was a no vote.
Okay. Is it on which bill? I'm sorry.
Page, the top of page 3.
Oh, the very top.
second
Okay,
line.
I'm sorry. Okay. Thank
Bill
you.
5744. Okay. Motion, Your Honor, to place the minutes for the April 1st meeting on hold.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, item 5, presentations and recognition. We have none this evening. Next item, 6, public hearings. There are no public hearings this evening. Item 7, bids. We have Road Avenue
Pedestrian.
thank you, improvement project.
The city requested sealed bids for the construction of this project, which includes grading, sidewalks, American with Disability improvements, retaining wall, landscape, irrigation, and street improvement of Rose Avenue from Brentwood Boulevard to Brentwood Promenade. The city received 7 bids, and the recommendation is to award this bid to Lamke Trenching and Excavation, Inc. The bid amount is $222,550.41.
Did we only receive the one bid? Or,
We received a total of 7.
okay. Alderman Lady?
Does this group meet MSD's requirements, and
They-
have they resolved, MSD resolved
On the
the
other one,
other problem
They have scheduled an administrative hearing for later on this week
for that one? Okay.
for that one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve the bid, Your Honor.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. We have an ordinance on later today
Yes.
for that.
We do.
Item 8, hearing of any matters of public interest upon any persons present. If anybody would like to address the Board of Alderman, please come forward and give us your name and address.
My name is Louise Sharp, and I'm at 8833 Madge, where I've lived for 34 years. I'd like to paraphrase one of the Newtown dads who went to Congress last week. He said, "I'm just a guitar player. I'm not supposed to be in the halls of Congress. I'm just a retired grocery checker. I'm not supposed to be here talking to the Board of Alderman." But we have those of us who are going to be most gravely affected by the construction proposed by Boys Hope, Girls Hope, at the end of our block, don't know how to get our voice heard. At the last Board of Alderman meeting, Chairman Geppert from Planning and Zoning assured us that we would have 4 opportunities to speak, to voice our concerns. I went to Planning and Zoning, and some type of snafu had occurred. It was advised that because no formal plan had yet been introduced to the city, it would be inappropriate for them to hear talk on that matter. So, Pat, what I'd like to ask you is how many opportunities will we have? It's my understanding that once Boys Hope, Girls Hope is on the agenda for this meeting, for this body, it'll be too late. Because I am assuming that Planning and Zoning makes a recommendation, and then you take it up and say yes or no. And that's what we've been going on. So Chairman Geppert promised us 4 opportunities to speak. 1 has already been taken away, and I just would like to know how many opportunities we really have to make our presence and our views known. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Ryan, 9324 Pine Avenue. Actually, I'm tired of coming up here, but I'm passionate. I'm passionate about what happened, I'm passionate about our city, and I'm passionate about our homes and our community. So, I am going to passionately come up here and talk to you each time, and hope that you can hear me and move this forward. Several years ago, Brentwood adopted an architectural review board, and a set of rules were defined for the approval process, as well as an assigned responsibility of the city staff and the commission. However, those rules do not define any penalty or fine for not adhering to our codes. There is no downside to not adhering to it, not to the city, not to the builder, not to the homeowner. What is the value of having a code to protect our the surrounding homeowners and the community at large if they're not enforced or no material consequence for violation is assessed? This leaves law-abiding citizens at a disadvantage, essentially offers no protection, or worst, offers false protection. We had a $40,000 deck and new sunroom built to help offset the scale and the proximity of a build that we knew to be coming. Ultimately, this build became everything that we voiced to the ARB as our concerns and morphed through 4 sets of plans, unapproved, both approved and unapproved, to an excessive build brought closer to our home with multiple windows directly overlooking our new deck, particularly intrusive and overwhelming to our home. The ARB forgave these violations and, to us, negated the very purpose of our ARB code. This board denied reimbursement for material expenses that we incurred due to the city's errors and omissions, and we, the only innocent party, penalized both monetarily and the loss and the enjoyment of our new deck. I'm asking the ARB codes be reviewed, and appropriate and adequate deterrence to not adhering to our code be added. Thank you.
I'll address that, Jen.
I have comments, so should I
Well,
go
let's
there
wait
as-
till the
as a
public is done, then we'll.
Public?
Karen Smith, and I think you have my address. I'm still trying to learn all this audit speak, but I would like to request that the goals and objectives, not that, residents' concerns are valued, but I would like to request that the goals and objectives for that financial audit for 2012 be reviewed in public session. It's my understanding that things that are valid for review and discussion in executive session are personnel matter, legal matter, and real estate. So I guess, Frank Albright, you indicated that an auditor has things that they would like to review in executive session, and they have, the ability to do that. I'd like to know what the auditor's list of criteria for taking things into executive session would be, because what has been defined, I thought, by our city is that it's personnel, legal, and real estate. And so I didn't think that reviewing goals and objectives for financial audits were things that would be taken into closed session. And just on a side note, you all have been promising us and indicated that the direction that you all want to go to, you've indicated that you want to be more transparent. This is not moving in that direction. This is business as usual, where we take things into closed session. And in follow-up to an earlier comment that was made, I was also at that P&Z meeting. The way that it was communicated to me about the ability to express concerns regarding the development at Madge and Powell, that there would be opportunity for that. I think it was expressed at the last Board of Alderman meeting. And I understand in planning and zoning the position that since there's nothing that's come forward to City Hall, that it's hard to take concerns in when you don't really know what the proposed development is going to look like. However, they have had a meeting and they have shared with individuals what they're thinking about. And I think it would be prudent on the part of our city, to understand what the residents in the community where this particular development would exist, to understand what their concerns are. I think, everyone at face value would like to embrace helping gifted children in a challenging situation, but it has to work for all parties involved, including Boys Hope and Girls Hope, but also the people that have lived in this community for a long time. And, maybe they would embrace something like this if they felt that their concerns were listened to and addressed. And I don't think it's unrealistic to have some sort of opportunity for them to do that. And although the chairman of P&Z indicated that he didn't want to hear from any of the residents, at the end of the meeting, he went through he spoke to the Boys Hope quite a bit. So I don't understand why we couldn't listen to the residents, but yet it was okay for the chairman to talk about Boys Hope, Girls Hope. So just a little bit, it was just a little confusing on my part. Thank you.
Matt Saunders, 2326 Park Ridge. I just heard Alderman Saunders read what I assumed to be a quote from our alderman, or I'm sorry, our auditors, and the auditor stated it was recommended by the state auditor you go behind closed doors. She called the state auditor, from my understanding, and the state auditor denied would never say that. My question is now, this question is, they lied to you. Is that okay? These are our auditors, and they've already lied to you. Are you sure that you want them to be our auditors? The other thing that concerns me is you guys are so willing to go behind closed doors. You realize this is our money, right? Somewhere along the line, you guys have to realize this is our town, this is our money, we were the ones that cheated. It just gives the appearance that you're continually trying to hide from us. Thank you.
Bob Brown, Middlesex. I'll echo that. And your no votes are duly noted.
Excuse us, we didn't catch your name.
Bob Brown. So the voters went and got the audit. We had to go out and canvass to get the audit. You guys hide this again, we'll canvass out for a forensics audit. And we'll take this as long as we have to. So please, 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 be on the right side of history on this one.
Hi, Todd Ingersoll, 2224 St. Clair. Was wondering if it would be possible to discuss the possibility of moving the results of the audit, which I think are going to be given on May 7th. If we could move that to a larger venue. I heard some people talking about the high school possibly, but not specifically the high school, just a larger venue, because I think you're going to have issues with space there as well. Just like to highlight that as a resident. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Akins, and I'm from 9338 Sonora, and I'm not here to talk about the audit. I am here to talk about the rec center. I got a random survey call last weekend of a variety of questions about the rec center and answered them honestly, and was actually somewhat surprised of the call coming in. I feel like I've lived in Brentwood for 15 years. You hear rumor that the ring's going to close, but you never really quite understand what that is as a resident walking not around here every day. And so I'm very concerned about the rec center, about the and about the ice skating rink. I skated at that ice skating rink as a kid. My children skate there 3 or 4 days a week. They have a great community there. They have built many great Brentwood friendships there. They do not go to the Brentwood schools. They go to private schools, but they feel very much a part of the Brentwood community because of the things that the rec center and the ice skating rink provide them. They see their friends in the grocery store and in the mall that they have all met through the recreation center. It creates a wonderful center for fun and for enjoyment, for a place for our kids to go and to be safe, especially having children entering into the teen years and what they're going to do on Friday nights. And ice skating is packed up there on Friday nights. It's packed up there on Saturday afternoons. Many young families that are going to have the kids that are going to be using the ice skating rink are also not the families that are going to be showing up here at night because they're giving baths and taking care of children and very, very busy with their lives. And going to Alderman meeting is quite difficult. And then all of a sudden, I think people, when you bring this up to them, they're afraid like the ice rink is going to get ripped out from underneath them without really having a voice. And so that's why I've come up here today to their attention. I am curious to see, first of all, to get this survey. I don't know how random that was or if people got selected for that, but I want to make sure that that is a fair survey to really represent how our community feels. And I also forgot the next thing I was going to say, but I think you get my point, and I think it should be considered the importance of the rec center gives to our community, to our children, to our families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Carl Hesse. I reside at 9132 Madge Avenue. Been there for over 20 years. Taxpayer. And I received this notice on my front door yesterday evening. It's my first time here. And since this is an open forum to voice my opinion, I would like to take this opportunity about this Boys Hope, Girls Hope home. And like the young lady has talked about, ice skating rink right down the road. I'm not here to make any enemies, be a rabble-rouser or anything. I'm just going to voice my opinion. I think right there on Madge Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard would be a wonderful location to put this complex at for the children. Reason being is Brentwood's a wonderful town, and where else would these children go? I mean, where would they build this facility at? North St. Louis, East St. Louis, somewhere where it's not safe for children. These children are already down on their luck, from abused families. And we're going to say, hey, we cannot allow these children to live here in Brentwood? Right underneath, right above Pat Kelly's head, Brentwood, City of Warmth. That doesn't sound like City of Warmth to me. And my family has been living in Brentwood for many years. I have ancestors that grew up in Brentwood. One of my relatives was a City of Brentwood mayor. And I know you guys know who he is, but I'm not going to mention that because that's irrelevant. All right? But I think he'd be turning over in his grave if I didn't stand up here and speak my opinion. All right? I'm not, legally knowledge. I'm just your Joe average worker. Go to work, 6 days a week, pay my taxes, pay my bills. And I believe that maybe, this facility, if it was put in Brentwood, would actually improve the neighborhood. Some people about property value. I'm on the other side of Madge Avenue at Bremerton, where they're building an office building or something there at Madge and Bremerton. I don't know what's going on over there because I've never been to these meetings. My wife's asking me, what are they building there? I said, I don't know. I have no idea what they're building there. So I think maybe it's time I start coming to these meetings so I can see what's going on in Brentwood. And I guess that's the only way I'm going to stay informed. I watch the news every evening. I know what's going around town. It's like, well, I might as well go ahead and start attending the alderman meetings so I can see what's going on in Brentwood.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close public comment. Try to address a couple of those things. With respect to the house at Madge and Bremerton, they're actually building a garage. There is a family moving into that house, and he's going to have a home office there. But that's what's happening there at that house at Madge and Bremerton. With respect to the survey for the rec center, I can assure you that no decisions have been made on the ice rink yet. One of the goals of the survey was to try to gather some additional information before any major decision like that would be made. Going back to the schedule of public meetings for Boys Hope, Girls Hope, or really anything that's submitted to the city, I think what was laid out at the last Board of Alderman meeting is the schedule that will take place. I think the confusion is that because Boys Hope, Girls Hope went out and tried to introduce themselves to the neighborhood and try to give a preliminary idea of what they're trying to do here in the city of Brentwood, we haven't officially started the process in the city of Brentwood. They still have not submitted anything to the city as far as plans for P&Z for review. Once that is submitted, then those meetings will be scheduled. Then it will be on the P&Z agenda, and residents will have an opportunity to speak to those items when they're actually on their agenda. And I think that was the confusion last week at the last P&Z meeting is that because it's not on their agenda, they don't have public comment like we do here in order to discuss those things. Because, again, until they have a formal application before them, they shouldn't really be discussing them as a P&Z. So that the meetings that will happen will still happen, and once we have that submitted to the city as an official application. And so that will probably be, I would assume, the first P&Z meeting in May, because it would have to be the first meeting of the month. So it would be either May or June, which would be the second Wednesday of the month.
Right.
Right. So, I'm sorry. And then I think that was kind of, with respect to the room for the audit, we have looked at different locations. That meeting, just so you understand, is scheduled and it's in the hands of the state auditor's office. We didn't pick the date, and we helped them find a location. But really, that's a state auditor's meeting. That's not a City of Brentwood meeting. We will be spectators just like everybody else in this room at that night, the night of that meeting. So, Alderwoman Saunders?
They did not want it here.
Yes.
Yes.
As chief petitioner, I did talk with State Auditor Tom Schweik, and he said that if we get an indication that the number is going to be larger, they would be willing to move the meeting. So I told him I would try to get some idea as to what kind of a crowd that we will have. And again, if we feel like, Bola, first of all, how many people does the Brentwood Rec Center hold?
100 plus.
100. What's the plus? Do we know?
Not right off the top of my head.
And Bola was
It's
going to
two
rent
meeting rooms combined.
was going to rent a sound system because everyone has always, whenever we've been at that meeting, no one can ever hear. And if we keep it there too, another thing I think would be good is with that sound system, hearing devices for the hard of hearing. Because, you know, it's a report and there's a lot of verbiage that'll go along with that. I had wanted to respond, well, one, two, Nancy, as far as your concerns with the ice rink, the results are going to be made available. Is it May 1st, Alderman Robertson, at the Public Works meeting? That's when the Warren poll will first make available to us what the preliminary results are. And that's information we'll have just so that you know that. You know, that the feeling from the committee, other than maybe one alderman going into this, was that, you know, keep the ice rink, kind of that it's a symbiotic relationship. The fitness center is at the Heights, and Maplewood provides the outdoor pool, and we provide the ice rink. So, but we'll see what the residents have to say about that. I wanted to speak as a resident on, I received the agenda for the Ways and Means meeting for tomorrow, and on there's under new business to change the protocol for disposing of surplus property or inventory, materials and supplies, and to raise the threshold from 1,000 to 10,000. I find that really, the timing is horrible for that because we know we haven't had an inventory in years. I had emailed Bola and Gina months ago in the summer regarding an inventory, and first I was told 2009, then it was like, no, it's even before that, and I'd asked to get a hard copy of it and was told, no, I would have to come up and view it on discs and so forth. Well, if you haven't had an inventory in years, you have left the door open for fraud. I mean, I know we have a $6,000 receipt that was in the police report that was charged to the firehouse that I'm not sure whether we accounted for that, but you've definitely opened the door. And then if you change the threshold of how you get rid of items and you increase it to 10,000, then if we do go do an inventory or a forensic audit where we look back and we say, well, where was this item that was purchased for $2,000? Well, we gave it to Goodwill. We disposed of it. I mean, how easy is that? We just saw this happen in St. Clair Fire District where they're making purchases for personal reasons, and then you know, they've charged it to the firehouse, so they, you know, piece of equipment, an axe or whatever expensive that people wouldn't know. And if you do an inventory and you ask to see that piece of equipment and it's not there, then you start indicating, you know, where is it? Where is that piece of equipment? So, given that we've had somebody gamble using cash on a credit card, that's when you get sloppy and brazen, when you begin to feel that you're untouchable. But prior to that, you're covert and you're smarter about it. And not having an inventory in all of these years, I can't understand why we are not right away just going with the forensic audit as an accountant. I put some material out on the table as to what the purpose of a forensic audit is. I mean, it would serve all of our needs. It would, if there are any other wrongdoing, we could collect on that, probably on the bond or from anyone that was involved. We detect in priority order what weaknesses we have in our internal controls, and they have software and stuff to evaluate these things, and they have tools where they can implement controls right away. I mean, it's a win. There's no reason not to take this action, and yet we won't have the results. We still need the results from the state audit, and if that further confirms that we have weaknesses, it is just it is the most responsible thing that you could do. And I cannot understand why anyone on this board wouldn't agree to do a forensic audit. Everyone says, you know, we didn't know anything, Chris was our friend. there's nothing to hide. So looking back, and this money would be a good investment in restoring the residents' trust, but putting in this electronic age, needed controls right away, and I don't have any reason as to why we wouldn't do a forensic audit. Like I said, the materials are out there. We have complete red flags that it's evident that there probably was additional fraud in the past. We can recover some of that money. And bigger thing is that once and for all, we know exactly what happened. We lay it open. We get all of it taken care of. And hopefully we never enter these dark days again. But, it's just like saying, there's a nut that's loose on an airplane and it crashed, and you say, okay, well, the nut was loose, let's just screw it and go on. You don't look back to find out, how did that happen? How did it slip through the cracks? You have to look back to know how to move forward. And there's just a resistance to this, and I don't understand quite, but I think that as a resident, I'm speaking, and as an accountant of 30 plus years, controller of a firm, did actually work in auditing, this just has to be done. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Move on to...
I'm sorry, one thing though too. And why wasn't the inventory done? It's the opening page for administration, which Alderman Kramer, you had told me I should have known the first day I was sworn in that we have input into the appointments, because you had read that before you were appointed. That's the administration chapter. It defines our duties, it defines the mayor, and the inventory is required yearly in our code. Why didn't we do an inventory?
Isn't that something that we're putting in the budget for this year?
Something we're working on.
Right. That'll have to be put out to bid, and then bring the company in, they'll do the inventory for us, right?
But
So
that
it's in the
doesn't
budget
answer
for
why,
this year.
though. I mean, it's open, it's in the core. Why did we never do it in the past?
The people we could ask don't work for the city anymore.
Right.
So we could speculate if
But
you
the
would
board
like
is
us to.
responsible. But I have my oath here, and it says, I, Maureen Saunders, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the constitutional laws of the state of Missouri and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood. I just don't understand.
I want to add something as far as the executive session goes. I don't know what the questions the auditors are going to ask us. This regards the financial, but it's not uncommon to meet with upper management and ask questions that could go into legal or personnel matters. And if the questions do go in that area, we need to be in executive session so we can be prepared to answer them. So again, I don't know what they're going to ask, but it's not uncommon to do a preliminary part of an audit and then just ask questions that could lead to confidential information.
No, sorry.
Alderman Toohey, is it common, though, to discuss the goals and objectives out in public?
Well, most audits don't really have the public meetings like we do.
Public companies? I mean,
They
just
don't meet in front of all their employees and have audit discussions.
I don't think the goals and objectives of the audit will be talked about in executive session. I think if that's the understanding, if that were to happen, we would need to go back into open session.
that's what's in the administrator's report.
Okay, I think it's misinterpreted. I think when we get in and talk to the auditor, then you'll see. So,
But I just asked if we could have that presentation made here, and you voted it down.
okay. Next item, item 9, introduction, reading, and passage of bills. If I can have a motion for the first and second readings of bill number 5750 and 5751.
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
First and second readings only. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First reading of bill number 5750, please.
First reading bill number 5750 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood, Missouri, and Lamke Trenching and Excavating for pedestrian and transit improvements, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, Bill 5750 for the Rose Avenue Pedestrian Improvement Project covers a bill authorizing an ordinance between the mayor, the city administrator, and the project coordinators at Lamke Trenching and Excavating Incorporated, that for pedestrian improvements including grading, sidewalks, Americans with Disabilities Act improvements, retaining wall, landscaping, and irrigation, as well as street lighting improvements on Rose Avenue. That's from Brentwood Boulevard into the Brentwood Promenade. Total project cost is $308,800. The federal match for this project is $247,040. Local match for Brentwood is $61,760. Construction is scheduled for this spring.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Alderman Leahy.
Just to confirm, this work is not going to be adversely affected by anything that Drury's doing?
No.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Alderman Kramer, sorry.
Just another positive comment on this project amongst the other ones that we have in that area, the Hanley Industrial Court. A way for the residents to get back and forth to the shopping areas and the areas they'd like to visit without having to step out into traffic. And it's real, that particular Rose Avenue is very treacherous, and there's not much room for error. Most of the drivers going and coming from there are not looking for pedestrians. So this is an awesome project, and I'm excited that it's going to be coming to fruition.
It is good. Absolutely. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill Number 5750 by title only. An ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Lamke Trenching and Excavating for pedestrian and transit improvements and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. We have a motion, please.
Motion to perfect Bill 5750 into ordinance form.
Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Leahy, second by Alderman Nguyen to perfect Bill number 5750 into ordinance form. Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper?
No.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Toohey?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5750 is now ordinance number 4425.
Thank you. First reading of Bill number 5751, please.
First reading, Bill Number 5751 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a 60-day extended agreement on behalf of the City of Brentwood, Missouri with American Traffic Solutions, Inc. for the operation of a photo red light enforcement program.
Okay. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. This is one of the unique times where the title of the bill is very similar to the synopsis. However, Bill 5751 for American Traffic Solutions covers an extension. This bill is for an addendum to an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to begin an agreement on behalf of the City of Brentwood with American Traffic Solutions Incorporated. That's for a 60-day extension, giving the Public Safety Committee and the Board of Alderman additional time to deliberate on this contract renewal. Public Safety Committee did not have a chance to meet on March 21st due to a lack of quorum. Current agreement is expired as of April 1st, 2013.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mayor, we could deal with this on Thursday. We have a public safety meeting if we do choose to.
Okay. Alderman Leahy.
Does that mean that currently there are no tickets being issued since we are outside the terms of the agreement at present? Would those tickets that are being issued are legitimate?
City Attorney?
Since that we're not under contract? Do we end up paying the $32 fee?
What's the expiration date on the contract
It
again?
expired first of this month.
First of this month.
Good.
Is Chief Disbennett here?
He's out in the hall.
Frank, have a comment?
Oh, you just not collected.
Is he coming?
Sorry, Chief. The question was with respect to the red light cameras, because the contract expired on the 1st of this month. Are you still issuing tickets down there?
Yes.
And would they be valid without having a contract in place?
I'd have to check with the judge.
No, the tickets are valid. They're issued under our municipal ordinance violation.
Do we end up paying the $32 fee for every ticket that's paid to American Traffic Solutions?
I don't know if ATS is continuing to operate in processing. I assume by the chief's comments that they are still operating under that.
Got a question. Since these have gone into effect, has there really been any improvement in public safety or traffic condition changes?
Well, I did a survey for the 5 years
they've had it, of accidents at those locations in the 5 years past, and I gave that, or I distributed that out. It's not a large amount of accidents at both locations, but there has been a decrease at, especially at Brentwood and Manchester.
Okay.
But then again, you know, I only have north and south. It's not east and west because that's a state, Manchester, so it's not the whole intersection as far as the red light cameras that are there.
Okay.
But that's all I have.
Thank you. And this is just for a 60-day extension.
Correct.
So. Okay. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill Number 5751 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a 60-day extended agreement on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, with American Traffic Solutions, Inc. for the operation of a photo red light enforcement program.
Okay. We have a motion, please.
So moved.
And second.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderman Nguyen, second by Alderman Kramer. Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper?
No.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
No.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
No.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Manister?
No.
Alderwoman Saunders?
No.
So will we have to notify them to discontinue the cameras operation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then they'll bring another proposal back to us?
Well, this is just to extend this current contract.
Right.
To renew the contract, that's still up for discussion at public safety.
Well, that's what I mean. So they'll bring a full contract back to us.
We already have it.
Oh, okay.
We just weren't able to discuss it at the last meeting.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Next item, item 10, accounts against the city. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. As Chairman of Ways and Means, did receive a copy of the warrant list in front of each of the aldermen this evening. Have reviewed it and saw no issues, recommending its approval. Dated April 15th, 2013, the amount of $72,428.82.
Okay. Any questions? Is that a motion?
Yes, motion to approve
And
as
second,
submitted, Your
please.
Honor.
Second the motion, Your Honor, to pay the bills.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, reports of committee and department heads under the mayor's report. Just a couple items real quick. I do municipal league as well real quickly. The House did pass a bill. Again, I think we need to be paying attention to some of the things that are happening at our state level, and to form an advisory committee to basically look at the St. Louis area, the sales tax distribution throughout St. Louis County, the number of municipalities, number of fire districts and fire stations, those kinds of things. So they're forming a committee, and there's going to be a bill pending in the state as well. And again, I think it's important that we know that what's being done at the state, even though we're a very small part of our state, those decisions on that evaluation and that process are being made by our state legislators from throughout the state. It's not being initiated by the state legislators that represent us. But I think it's important that people call and give their opinions to our state representatives. If they're going to be, this is all being influenced again by Rex Zinkfeld, very, very wealthy individual here in St. Louis, in the state of Missouri, who is basically not only trying to change the structure of our state, but also change the structure of St. Louis County government. So, again, I think everybody should be aware of that. If it's a concern, I would hope that you would maybe contact your state legislators and let them know that. Again, if they start taking away revenue from one city to give it to another, right now with the sales tax distribution, I don't have the exact number, but going by historical numbers, as 2 years ago or a year ago, we gave the city of Brentwood over $1.2 million of our sales tax revenue that was approved by our voters went into the pool to go to other municipalities in St. Louis County. So if they change that number, increase it, or take away the whole entire 1 cent and distribute it based on population, it would be a significant loss to a community like the city of Brentwood and a benefit to some of the other ones that don't have the retail base that we do. So again, I would hope that everyone pays attention to what's going on at the state level. On a more of a lighter note, I had a phone message in my house over the weekend by a very disgruntled resident. He was very upset about the number of traffic closures because of construction in the area, and the fact that the city of Brentwood was not putting out enough notices that the streets were going to be closed, and he had been stuck in traffic on a number of occasions and delaying his everyday activities. And in my mind, I'm thinking of Hanley Road that was closed last week was the only kind of major thing in the area, although we have a sewer project on Helen Avenue that's been going on for a few months, disrupting Helen and Cecilia. And so before I got a chance to call back, I listened to the next message. The guy's kind of laughing, and he apologized because he meant to call the mayor of Brentwood, California, but he called the mayor of Brentwood, Missouri. So I thought that was kind of funny. We've been confused with them before, but anyway. So how he got the wrong area code when he called us, I don't know. But anyway. So that's all I have under the mayor's report this evening. I would like to point out one other thing, and Alderman Kramer wanted me to say this before, with respect to the state auditors. They did not want to hold that meeting here at City Hall. That was one of the requirements that they had, and they wanted to have it here in the city of Brentwood, obviously, but they did not want to have it here in these chambers. So, Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes, they didn't want to have it here because this wasn't big enough, and they were impressed by the turnout that we had at the initial meeting, according to Chris Vetter. Under the city administrator report, it said you were going to talk about the Drury.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually, I was going to do that. Got the numbers here. Drury, one of the phases of that project, and thank you for that reminder. Part of that project that the city requested was a bearing of the utility lines from across Eager Road, from the northeast corner of Eager and Brentwood over into where the Drury project is. We have 3 utility poles right there in the corner on that north side, and then the lines going across Eager Road. We wanted to bury those like we did when we did in front of Brentwood Square when that project was completed. We buried all the utility lines on the west side of Brentwood Boulevard. As part of that, they had committed part of the funds for the project up to $250,000 for that underground cable bearing of the lines. And they have come back and requested us to increase that to $200,000 for that phase of the project. The reason being, Ameren, their cost for their analysis, and then they actually come in and do the actual pulling of the lines, from what I understand. Their estimated cost is for them alone is $155,000. And that's an estimate. They won't give us a final number until they're actually done with all of their work. The actual construction of the boring and putting in the conduit, which is a pretty firm number, it has been bid out, is $109,000. And then the engineering, internal costs, and then the civil engineering phases of it adds up to $299,000 right now in order to do that project. So we would have to amend the redevelopment agreement to increase that allocation to $300,000 for that phase by increasing it by $50,000. And so I wanted to update everybody on that, see if there's any major objections to it. We would have to have an ordinance at our next meeting in order to amend that redevelopment agreement. But again, I think we don't have these opportunities to do something like this, to get rid of those utility lines, make it not only look better, but also they don't go out as often, those kinds of things when they're buried. So, it's an opportunity that we have, and we're going to need to increase that. So, Alderman Leahy?
Did they discuss at all the possibility of running the conduit in parallel with the Deer Creek run that's up there, or Black Creek that's up there.
Well,
and
again-
come through there under the streets, because the creek comes under the street at that point.
Right, but you'd have to go from the corner of Eager all the way back to the creek, and then you would have to go over underneath the creek and then have it go under lines to go back to the corner on the other side.
You could, yes.
But you'd be doing 5 times as much boring that way.
No, you'd only do the run up to the creek, run it parallel in the wall that they're putting up, right there.
But how would you get it from the corner to the creek without going? You'd still have to put that underground.
Yes, but that distance is easier than coming across the street, the major thoroughfare.
No, they have to bore. It doesn't. They have to
Okay.
bore no matter what. I mean, there's going to be utilities that way and the other way, but the distance you're talking about is probably a tenth of what it would be to go that way. Because you'd have to go back. You'd have to go east of the creek.
Yep.
Then you can use the creek. You could put conduit underneath the bridge, I guess, and then you'd have to bore back from the creek back to the corner again on the other side.
No, you could run it the length of the creek all the way to the what would be
You have
the
to get to
southeast
those-
corner of the property, and then bring it back in right where the building's going to be.
But then you'd still have to bore for the lines that are existing at the creek. I mean, at the corner. There's lines on both corners. You have to get them connected somehow.
Understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
submit a bid.
It would be higher, I guarantee you.
Question, Your Honor.
Alderman.
The additional $50,000 for burying the lines, would that be paid for by the TDD? Would that be paid for by the TDD?
I think it's actually being paid for through the, actually, Mark Grimm, is that, I'm sorry. The question was, are those being paid for by the TDD, or is it the assistance from the being collected for the hotel motel tax or fee that they're putting on?
I think it's a combination. I don't think that issue is, I think the money goes to the overall
Right.
project.
Sorry. It does. I can actually, all of it is lumped into the total assistance, the TDD and the notes that the developer are carrying these. There won't be bonds in this project. The developer is actually holding these notes and will be paying it back with the fee that's being collected on the hotel and the TDD. So it's pretty much almost a lump sum. But again, the estimates going into the project was that this would be about $250,000, that they could commit to that out of that. And so in order to get it done, we would need to increase it.
Just to follow through, I'm just asking if it's going to reduce our revenue by $50,000 as the city's general fund.
No, it's going to go into the assistance.
Thank you.
Right. Alderwoman Saunders?
I didn't understand from Bola's report. You said that it would be coming out of the general fund or the...
Well, there are two options. One would be to come out of the assistance, and one would be that the city contribute the difference.
Yeah, that's what, so you didn't discuss the second...
Well, the other option is that what we had said when they committed the $250,000 was that if it was above that amount, that the city would pay that difference. Mm-hmm. So we could then, if we wanted to pay if we wanted to pay $50,000 out of our revenue right now to make up that shortfall, we could do that. They believe that there's enough room within their numbers to increase the assistance by $50,000, won't change the time of the notes or the assistance, that they think that there's enough room in there in order that that could be absorbed into the assistance and paid back through the TDD tax and the hotel tax.
They believe their project will be
Right.
very successful.
Right.
Actually, that amount is a little bit more than $300,000. I think there was a range between $325 and $350.
But we're only going to increase it to $300,000 right now, right? Because the unknown, and we did he send that letter over from Ameren?
Yes.
Okay. Ameren is really the unknown number, which is a big concern because they won't give us a final cost until they're actually done.
Well,
So,
whichever option, I'm not in favor of giving them any additional assistance or paying them any money. I mean, that's a prime corner, and I think that we were more than generous in giving them assistance initially. And I understand the flooding issues and that, with the parking and that, but I think we've been very generous, and I don't think
and this
we
is
should
a
have to
major
contribute more.
public improvement that, again, we just don't have these opportunities to do that often.
Does it improve their property?
I think it improves the community of Brentwood. To bury those utility lines, get the 4 or 5 utility poles off of the corner between the two corners, I think that's an improvement to our community. And, you know, if you can picture, well, look at Manchester Road Corridor when we have telephone poles all along the corridor. Again, it's very seldom that you have the opportunity or a funding source in order to pay for this. It's tax dollars that's paying for it, there's no doubt, but it would be tax dollars if we were paying for it too. And so, again, you just don't have the opportunity to do these things that often. And we can either make the improvement or leave it the way it is and it'll stay that way forever. But I think it would be a good improvement. So,
The jury won't make it on their own?
Hmm?
The jury won't make it on their own? They would prefer their property to have all those lines? They won't do it on their own?
It's not, the only pole is on one pole on their corner, the other three are on the other side. I'm sorry, there's two on their side. Right.
Your Honor.
And they're in the sidewalk. Alderman Kramer?
I just want to say that in this particular circumstance, we are extremely fortunate to be able to tag along this public improvement to a project that is technically not in need of this improvement, and for us to be able to package this in such a way so that it's a cooperation is going to be better for Brentwood in the future. If you go back and look at the responses from the residents when the comprehensive plan update was put together, they saw the pictures of the various developments and the various street lines, both here and other locations. The positive responses far outweighed the negatives when they saw streetscapes like would exist in front of Brentwood Square. No utility lines, the landscaping, the various types of architecture. I think we all know what Brentwood Square used to look like, and how it looks now is it's an extreme improvement. This opportunity for us to include the extra 50, for example, within the public assistance and have this caliber of improvement at a corner that already has our fountain, already has hundreds of thousands of vehicles that go past it on a regular basis per week. I think it's a no-brainer.
And one of the things.
But if it wasn't needed, though, why did they include it in their project?
That's a good question and leads into what I was just going to say. When they came to the city with their request for assistance, and they had their number for their assistance, we then said, okay, yes, this is the number. Don't remember what the numbers are, but in that assistance, we want you to bury these lines. And so without increasing the amount that they were requesting, they said, okay, we can commit up to $250,000 towards that out of the assistance that we were already allocating them. So that was a negotiation to start with for that public improvement that we, the city of Brentwood, were requesting. So, you know, again, it just really comes down to whether we want to do it or not. You know, if we don't, then the notes will be paid off sooner, and we won't spend that $250,000. If we do, then we're probably going to spend $300,000. And I still think that it will be paid off ahead of their schedule because very shortly they will be announcing their restaurant, which I think will do very well there, and will just be adding revenue to their project, and it'll be very successsul. So, but you know, that's just a decision we'll have to make. So,
when will we make that decision?
At our next board meeting, we'll have an ordinance.
Not tonight.
We met with our bond counsel and representatives from jury last Thursday. I didn't think it would be appropriate to, even though we probably could have done it, to draft an ordinance and have it before us today. I wanted to at least update everybody before we did that, and then we'll have that on at our next meeting. So they would like to do it. They would like to have us do it tonight because they want to get the construction going on that. You know, they want to get that part of the project done. So, but okay.
Your Honor, can we give the name of the restaurant just yet?
Nope.
Okay.
They asked us until they have a firm letter or lease signed. They have a very firm letter of intent, but they didn't want us to go public with the name.
But from what you know, you would be visiting this restaurant.
Unfortunately, I visited too many restaurants too often, but I would definitely go there. Yes, it'll be a great addition, I think, to
Awesome.
Brentwood. So, okay, thank you. Public Safety Committee
Meeting Thursday at 4:30.
Great. Public Works Committee.
Your Honor, yeah, you've already mentioned our upcoming survey results on the 1st, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm sure we
Great.
all are.
Okay. Director of Planning, not present this evening. Ways and Means Committee.
I have some questions for the planning and development, since
Okay.
that Boys Hope was brought up and the Girls Hope. So I'm not sure, Bull, if you want to answer. I'm not, John we appoint Chairman Geppert. You're an expert. I'm not certain why we can't have you come to the podium
What?
to answer questions. Well, they announced that they were indicating that they were going to try to have the plans before the board. April 23rd was what they were saying.
They had the wrong date.
Oh.
They were going to submit the application by April 23rd.
Yes.
In a timely basis to be on the May agenda.
Okay.
That
I guess
was
what I
their
want to
intent
make
was.
sure I get clear is they've sent out the 300 or the 300 feet, the notices of 300 feet as an informal process. That was at your suggestion, but it was just an informal process. But that, just so that the people that are interested, the residents, that process has to be repeated formally by the city.
Absolutely.
According to code,
Yes.
right? So that'll announce will that announce the public hearing then? At that
No,
particular?
it will. I think it will announce it as in front of planning and zoning.
Exactly.
Correct. But then there's another formal notification of the public hearing that would come in front of the Board of Alderman.
Okay, but they know, do they get the date and the information when it comes to planning and zoning?
Oh, yes.
Okay, they get that
Well,
information.
and of course it's on the website.
And then when it goes to the Board of Adjustment, do they get to information regarding that?
Notices are sent.
Is
Well, we
it
don't
going
even
to
know
the
if
Board of Adjustment? Yes.
we don't know that they need to go there yet.
I certainly do not know that they need to go in front of Board of Adjustment.
Well, I know in the code for Board of Adjustment, there's something regarding that if you have a lot that's zoned and both owners own both lots, the Board of Adjustment can extend that boundary. Is that true? Does that pertain to this particular?
I would almost want to defer to legal staff, but there is a difference between a boundary extension and a rezoning. And
so that's what I want to know is this just so we know, is if it's a rezoning, then it takes 3/4 of a vote of the board for us to rezone?
What I have been told at this point in time is that if they move down the path that they have discussed, it'll be a rezoning. And is that
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
It would
and
be a
can somebody
rezoning.
explain boundary adjustments to me? I was just looking at the code so that I understand.
I can't.
Do you? I would hope.
Well,
I'll read it to you.
Well, what?
Go
ahead.
No, if you want to attack it, Pat, go ahead.
Well, to be honest with you, I just don't see the relevance right
We
now.
don't.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
at this
it
point,
makes a
without
difference.
an application,
one
We don't
has.
even have you don't know what they're going to do yet. So
I know. I'm not asking that. I just want to know, though, in the event, because it makes a difference as to how it goes through the process, and so there's less time. Less time if they get an adjustment from the Board of Adjustment. And
not necessarily
according to
less
this,
time,
it
and they would
says,
still have to send out notices to the
it says,
property owners.
to permit the extension of a district where the boundary line of a district divides a lot held in single ownership on May 20th, 1985. What does that mean?
well, first of all, this entity will not own the property. They will have a financial interest in the property. And the intent that has been communicated to the city at this point is talking about a rezoning.
And I
So
think I'm sorry.
No. Go
Well,
right ahead.
the boundary adjustment, if you read that, I think if I interpret that correctly, is saying if you have a lot that has two different zonings in it, you're saying, if you read
Right.
that again.
That's- yes.
Well,
That's
they
what
won't
I'm-
have that. They have one lot that is zoned commercial. They're going to purchase another lot that's owned residential. That's not the same thing as a boundary adjustment. They would have to have the lot that is residential zoned commercial in order to use
Actually,
that lot
it's
for the
planned
project.
development.
Right, or planned development, I'm sorry.
Right.
PD.
And-
So a boundary adjustment would be an existing lot that is split by two different zoning districts. That's what that says.
And one of the things that,
Okay.
again, not
Divides a lot.
necessarily
Okay.
trying to predict what will happen because
Okay.
we don't have an application,
Right.
is typically when a property owner comes in, you want to make sure that the entire property that they are building on is in one parcel. So you would do what's called a reverse subdivision. And you would create a single parcel of property out of the two lots. And I don't think that is subject to boundary adjustment. But I mean, now
Well, again,
now you're getting me into legal territory where I'm not.
I don't know the city would ever approve the combination of two lots that are zoned differently unless the approval for the rezoning was already taking place.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. And then the other thing, well, and, you know, too, I mean, the purpose of zoning is to conserve and stabilize the value of property, to provide adequate open spaces, prevent undue concentration of population, and to avoid excessive congestion of streets. This is an excellent program. I am amazed at people that they're innovative enough to think of these things, they're caring, they're thoughtful. The question is, I have to, you know, I represent the residents, and is this the right location for this particular thing, especially for the residents that live right directly there? So it is good to get the input of everyone, but we'll have to go back and see how the streets feel. The other question I have is conflicts. Conflicts with this.
No. You sort of asked a question there.
Oh, okay.
So let me sort of address it a little bit.
Okay.
Without an application in front of us, when we don't really know exactly what's coming, you're talking about a speculative type process. But from a land use planning point of view, the idea that you have commercial property adjacent to multifamily property, adjacent to single-family property, is generally considered good land use planning. So if you were putting this type of use dead in the middle of a neighborhood, that would be one thing. The idea that you're putting it on the edge where it's actually adjacent to commercial but abutting residential, actually, I think if you would go back and look at the strategy of land use planning,
I did.
This is not necessarily the worst concept that you could come up with.
Right. I mean, without a conditional use permit, it's not even valid, and the is neighborhood mixed use. And the idea behind that particular zoning is to allow for retail and like pharmacies, things that people within a 5 to 10 mile radius can walk to, and the second floor above, like you see down in Kirkwood and so forth, would be lofts or that kind of residential housing.
Again, without an application in front of us, we're dealing on nothing but speculation. But I would say that the concept in some ways, considering that you have viable commercial in the Brentwood corridor right now along that district, I think if the community keeps an open mind and just listens to what the potential applicant wants to do, I think there may be rationale for it. I don't know, since we don't have an application. And I am certainly not here to, to in any form or fashion try to promote it. But, I really don't think it's the worst land use plan that one could come up with what is now underutilized property directly behind the Pasta House facility.
Well, if it was redeveloped, it could necessarily not
and
be
the
under.
only way it's
Can
going to
I
get
ask-
redeveloped is knocking down Pasta
And
House.
since we don't know what it's going to be, and we'll have time to discuss that, but can I ask, moving forward for this, in the 2.5 square miles we have, how much of that is 501Cs in Brentwood?
We'd have to go back and do an analysis.
Okay, if we could get that, because that's tax exempt property, and there's, the several churches, and we have Children's Home Society, we've done it. We're giving, but
I don't.
Yeah, but I think if you actually want to look at this proposal, I think if you look at what that property pays in property taxes, I think if 1 or 2 students went to Brentwood school districts, it would be offset by the money they would get from the state.
Well, I'm just saying, like you say, when you redevelop it, though, it's like the promenade. It's apples and oranges again. The promenade was, they should be so thankful for what the property pays now. You can't say what it is now is what it will be if it were redeveloped with a different type of profit-producing development.
Well,
but anyway, we'll get down that road when we
Well-
do that. I want to know about conflicts I'm Catholic. It's a Catholic organization. I think that's
It is not a Catholic organization.
Okay. Well, that's
The
what I
organization, The organization was founded by the Jesuits, but they are totally independent. Their funding is completely private.
Okay. And that's the kind of thing, because I know, Mayor, you had indicated that your brother-in-law does the dental work for the girls that are there, and the past record of the board giving charitable, city money to charitable, I think that poses a conflict since that wasn't appropriate.
I'm
Frank, can I
I'm not
ask you
sure
to look
from
into
whence,
those things?
from whence
please?
you come, but again, whereas the organization...
Wait a minute,
was-
I have to comment on this. So now because my brother-in-law, who I just found out within the last month, has given free dental care to these kids for the last 10 or 15 years, now I have a conflict?
I am asking, is that not a conflict? If it's not,
Absolutely not.
Okay, I was just asking. And the fact that the city has been given, in the past, there have been city dollars that were not produced from the golf revenue, that were the golf tournament, that were given to charitable contributions, that shows
Okay.
a bias, in my opinion.
I have never played a game of golf, so you are
I'm not
talking
talking to you.
You are talking to the wrong person.
I'm not talking to you, and I'm not talking to anyone specific.
No, you're
Actually,
looking
it's,
at me,
well,
and you're
because
making those kind of comments.
Oh my gosh! Excuse me. You're at the podium, and I'm talking to you. But really, Frank, I'm talking to you. I'm just making these comments generally because I wondered for myself first of all, because I thought, I've got to vote as an alderwoman and not based on my faith alone. I can't just vote on.
Well, what are we voting on? They
We're
haven't
not
even
voting
applied.
on it.
We
Yes.
haven't been able
I'm
to
just
evaluate it yet.
asking ahead of time if there are any conflicts.
You really can't answer that question until you're given a very specific set of facts.
Thank you.
That's all you can say about it. I need a specific set of facts of A, B, C, and D.
Okay, I'll provide it.
And all that has happened to this date is that this organization is interested in Brentwood, and they have come in, and I think the mayor put it very well. What they have done is try to introduce themselves to the community. There is a long way in the process to go, and there will be a lot of opportunity for public input. There will be a lot of very open meetings. It is under no circumstance, I think being brought forward in a promotional manner. It's sort of a manner of if the neighborhood thinks you would be a good fit, let's hear what they have to say. That's essentially where they are. All right, am I done?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ways and Means.
Yes, Your Honor. At this moment, the Ways and Means Committee meeting for May has been rescheduled to May 30th at 6:30 p.m. That's all but final, but I think we're pretty much set for that
Isn't there a meeting tomorrow night?
Yes, meeting tomorrow.
as well.
At 6:30.
Yeah.
City Attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
City Clerk Administrator.
No report, Your Honor.
Excise Commissioner not present. Library, anything?
No, nothing.
Municipal League, I already took care of. Communications.
Yes, Your Honor. A quick comment in response to some of the residents who have come forward and wanted to find out more information, more access to the meetings, the meeting data, the meeting content. I think all of us up here understand, and certainly the past elected officials understand, that coming to every one of these meetings is not either appetizing to some or in their schedules or ability to be able to attend all these meetings. But the city does try to make it easier. We do have cable access. We do have YouTube access, website, library. There are multiple opportunities on the website to learn about the meeting content, even if you can't make it to the meetings. So if there's a topic that you're particularly interested in, go to brentwoodmo.org, do a keyword search, and chances are you're probably going to find at least some semblance of a topic that you've been interested in pursuing. As well, The city does some other extraordinary measures in terms of communication that even our St. Louis County does not. One is our synopsis for each and every one of the bills that helps to explain what we're voting on. If you want to find out about lack of inclusiveness and secrecy, in my own personal opinion, go take a trip to a St. Louis County meeting and find out what it's like there. You'll find an entirely different set of circumstances, an extreme lack of communication, and if you want to ask a question, good luck to you.
Actually, I have one other item under Municipal League, and just as for the board's information, I'm pretty sure I have the right date. May 30th is the annual Municipal League annual dinner. If any of the board members would like to attend, I would encourage everybody. We could try to get a table together for the city. But it's a good opportunity to be other elected officials from throughout St. Louis County there. And it's just a good meeting to get, or a good opportunity to get and meet some other elected officials in a social setting. So
We need to move the Ways and Means meeting in order to attend the dinner. I asked that we, there was no discussion on dates or no dates supplied except for the one to me. I asked that we move it up earlier so it's not so close to the board meeting.
can I make sure that that's exactly, I mean, if that's the reason, I will let Bola know tomorrow, but yeah, so.
Can we
Okay.
have some additional dates other than May 30th, please, for the Ways and Means meeting?
Your Honor, just to be clear, we started out with other dates that one by one I worked through with Octavia to see if those were achievable, and they were knocked down one by one. So, including our Memorial Day holiday, which falls in there on Monday. So we ended up on the 30th, but I'm wide open. If Octavia can find a date that everybody can, I think she sent out the email, which was, if the 30th is not good, please let me know. And I don't know if you've gotten any responses on that, have you?
Yes.
I have received 2 responses.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and one was saying that date was okay, and then the other was asking for an earlier date, and then, well, actually 2 responses from the same individual. One asking for an earlier date this week, which, like you said, that this particular week has all been taken up, or the week that we're discussing has been taken up. And then the other one saying that it's okay, she can, they can go ahead and meet that day.
We'll get it worked out.
Okay. Historical Society?
There'll be a meeting Sunday, the 21st at 2 o'clock at the Barlow House.
Okay.
Everybody's encouraged to come.
We will have a closed session. We will meet back, are we meeting upstairs, Bola?
Yes.
At 8:35. Any unfinished business?
Can we move up the public hearing? I mean, are we doing that before the closed session? Is that
We're
what
going
you're
to
saying?
we're going to
okay.
finish the agenda.
Okay.
Any unfinished, Alderman Lee?
New business.
New business?
The Ward 3 meeting for the month of April is Tuesday night, the 30th, at 7 o'clock here at the council chambers. All are invited. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Item 14, did you have another item?
Under new business, I
Yes.
just wanted to know, why was that inventory item brought up? How did that get on the agenda for Ways and Means? What initiated that?
Most of the items that are placed on the committee members come from staff, come from the different departments. That is how items get placed on the agenda. We have a lot of surplus items that have been placed in the bays. Some of them you've seen upstairs where the fire department used to be housed. And this is an attempt to start to bring them all together and to get rid of them.
I think we should probably put that on hold until at least we have performed an inventory, and then after that's done and we're up to date, then consider changing the code.
We have the opportunity to do that at the Ways and Means meeting because it's on their
Thank you.
agenda. Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Alderman Harper.
Just along those lines, do we still sell, or did we sell, like, surplus on the property locker, or?
We do.
You
Yeah.
do?
That's the police take care of that.
Okay.
Right.
Police seized items.
Your Honor. if
Yeah,
I
I think they have a service, remember? Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
They
They have
do.
that service.
They have an auction service.
Alderman Lee?
New business, if I may.
Sure.
We were out at the polls on the election day, and I'd like to pass along 2 specific comments that I were given from residents that came up and voted that day. Both of them are for the Public Works Department. They were extremely pleased with the level of service, courtesy, and efficiency of the trash department. and think that these guys are absolutely marvelous, and they wanted to make sure that the city understood how good they do, since nobody's up that early watching them.
Here, here.
And
I agree
I
with
wanted to
that.
pass along the comments.
I will second that.
You know, Andy, along with it, you can do like neighbor of mine does on a hot day when they know they're coming. Take 2 or 3 bottles of cold water out there. That's doesn't cost a lot, but it sure means something to
It
those
does.
guys.
My husband takes pretty good care of them.
With the yard waste that's going to start accumulating because we all get to start cutting grass and stuff, please understand that we've asked for a limit of no more than 50 pounds per container so that nobody gets hurt pulling and lifting. Thank you.
I just have one last thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
April is still Child Abuse Prevention Month, so get involved and make a difference.
Thanks, Anthony. Item 14, hearing of any matters of public interest. If anybody would like to address the board, please come forward and give us your name and address.
Karen Smith. Since we were talking about the Drury, it reminded me in that original redevelopment agreement, there was an attachment for the lease for the public parking agreement. I'd asked Andy about that, and I didn't know at the time when, at least in the document that I had, there was nothing behind attachment B or appendix B, and I was told that that was something that would be brought forward later, which I mean, I would not have felt comfortable approving a document without having all of the attachments there so I knew what we were approving. Because once you approve the document, when attachment B or the public parking agreement comes forward, and if you don't like it, you've already into that agreement. So that didn't make sense to me at the time, but I think I've been to most of these meetings. I've not seen that ever come back through. Is that going to be coming through? So that's one of my questions. And then in regards to Boys Hope, Girls Hope, again, you know, I'm hopeful. I think one of the things that I'm hearing, this is just a comment that you can take, which since I think most of the time you guys don't take my comments, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's unfortunate. I think this could be an opportunity to incorporate some of the concerns. From what I've heard from some of the people that live in that area, they don't really feel that, you know, it was nice the Boys Hope, Girls Hope came forward and, you know, kind of introduced themselves to the community, but I don't know that they felt like that their concerns were heard or they had the opportunity to express them. And what I found with the West Community expansion, when they were looking at doing some expansion at their site, at Brentwood and Harrison, what I found that it's difficult once they get something down on paper, it's more difficult to get it changed. And even the president of West Community Credit Union, when we finally were able to sit down with him and talk about stuff, he was like, well, you know, no one ever explained this to me, or no one ever talked about it. He goes, I didn't really mean to come into this community and alienate or upset you all. You know, this is what our issues are that we have. This is what we want to do. You know, it's just unfortunate that we got there. And so in the end, I think, you know, we worked out some good solutions, but it was an uncomfortable time to go through. And I just don't know if there's a way for us to work on somehow incorporating community concerns up front so that you can get those, because maybe there is some solutions that could be put into the proposal that would make it more viable for the community. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. And my question on the process tonight, so you all are going to go into executive session. So the goals and objectives of the audit for 2012 is, so after you come out of executive session, are they going to be doing a presentation on the goals and objectives of the audit? Like, when does that happen?
If that's done, that would be done in open.
So after you're done, you'll come back in here?
I don't think that is going to be the nature of the conversation.
Okay. Because, you know, typically, you know, when you go into executive sessions and you and I've sat around here for quite some time waiting, you all just come out and there's no explanation as like what you all discussed or what the outcome was. You all just vote to end the meeting. So what my question is it worth my time to stay up here and wait for that in case they're going to do some goals through the goals and objectives of the 2012 audit, or will you not be doing that? And if so, when will that be done?
We will not be doing that here.
Tonight?
Right.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Jim Feet, 2201 Park Ridge Avenue. Simple question. Once you convene or finish the closed session, will any business be conducted between the end of the closed session and adjournment of this body?
No.
Thank you.
Bob Brown, Mill 6. I just want to put this in context. Around that power, the bearing of the power lines, $250,000? $250,000. And you guys are selling this on, you're selling this on the aesthetic next to a eight lane highway. That's $250,000. That's 5 people, $50,000 a year. That's how much we're talking about coming out of tax dollars. I find that odd that would be the selling point for spending our money when we've already given Drury choice land within Brentwood that has access to 170, 64, Brentwood. It's odd. It just, what it does say is that you guys don't have a sense of funds and amounts. So that's all I have to say.
Louise Charbonneau. I want to thank Maureen for bringing up the point about the inventory. It would seem to me at this time, before you've taken inventory, raising the limit of unaccounted for property to $10,000 would be short-sighted or premature. I wandered into a public works meeting last week where the discussion was chickens. And Brentwood is going to micromanage chickens and limit flocks to the count of 6 and charge $50 for a permit. Perhaps that's the suggested ordinance. But up to $10,000 worth a piece of equipment worth up to $10,000, we won't know. Thank you.
Matt Saunders, 2326 Park Ridge. I agree with what she said. Please don't raise the limit. In case you don't realize it, that's our inventory. That's not yours. That's ours. We bought it with our tax dollars. Before you give it away, it'd be nice to know what it is. And there are people here that are responsible for that inventory. Don't blame people that are already gone. That's an old excuse. We're tired of it. There are people here that are responsible. Another comment, too, is I can understand employees not going into an audit with the CEOs. We're not employees of the city of Brentwood. We're the owners, okay? Look at the flow chart before you come here. You work for us, okay? Keep that in mind. So please don't insult us like that. All right? Thank you.
Council, Carl Hesse, 9132 Madge. And it's back to this boys hope, girls hope. Another option, you know, is since this sounds like a wonderful organization, if we can keep this in Brentwood and them not going somewhere else, because, you know, you got the ice rink, athletics, the heights and everything right down the road. I noticed from looking at real estate that on Brentwood Boulevard, across the street from Snook, there's a bunch of buildings that are for, I noticed that were for sale. So maybe there's another option, maybe going on the other side of the intersection of Brentwood and Manchester Road, maybe develop something over there. And Andy, about public service, it's funny you mentioned recycling and trash truck, trash pickup. My wife, she's not here, but she would verify for me that there's been many times I put recycles out on Thursday or Wednesday, whatever day it was, and I come home from work and the cans haven't been touched and they're full. I get home from work and I get upset. So I call City of Brentwood, leave a voicemail, tell them where I live, tell them please come and empty my containers the next day, which is be on a Friday morning, so I'm not stuck with full containers for trash and yard waste, because I have no place to go with it. So it got to the point that I decided to start, to about a month ago, to start throwing everything in the trash. Recycles, everything gets picked up on trash day, because I got tired of dealing with it. I got fed up, because, you know, then I got full containers, no place to go with it. So here I am at the 9100 Madge, 9100 block of Madge, and I'm not just the only resident that gets skipped over every once in a while. A couple of them, of my neighbors, get skipped over too. So like I said, I got to the point where I got fed up and just started throwing everything away. I said, the heck with it, it's not worth the aggravation. It takes time to sort this stuff out. And if I can't get rid of it, then I start throwing it away. And that's where I, get frustrated. And I'm to the point where I just gave up on recycling, just in the trash it goes. Now, if they can come back and If they miss on Thursday, that's the day it's pick up for me, is on Thursday. Come back Friday and pick it up. So I'm not stuck with full cans
For the
over the
week.
weekend.
Okay.
That's all I ask. I'm a taxpayer too. My taxes paying for public service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Ryan, 9324 Pine. How do I go about getting a review of the ARB code and assessment for deterrence for not following the code? How do I get that on the P&Z? Does it have to come through staff, or can I specifically ask that be on the agenda of the public?
Could
No.
you put, I mean, just so we understand, put it in writing and send it
Okay.
to Board, put on Public Works initially?
Not
and then
Public Works. I don't think it goes through Public
Well,
Works.
and then they could forward it to P&Z after
Yeah.
the discussion.
Okay, all right, that'd be fine. And I would, I would second Karen Smith's references to hostility. I'm sure that you all understand exactly how I feel. And then that came down to not being informed, not being considered, and an insensitivity to my home that I don't think this community can afford. I think there are plenty of ways to balance in housing infill. I think there's plenty of ways to balance other opportunities to bring them into Brentwood. But who lives here needs to be heard, needs to be considered, and so that we all feel that we can live in harmony versus causing hostility. Because I can tell you there is a tremendous amount of hostility the city created between my neighbor and me.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Just real quickly, just so people understand and to comment on some of those comments. One, with respect to the chicken issue, again, that was something, and again, a group of residents brought that to the city of Brentwood. We just can't say that we're not going to evaluate that and do that. So, well, but I'm just saying they came to us from a group of residents, okay? The other thing is, I think Karen Smith's analogy of the credit union is actually a good analogy. And it wasn't actually, they did submit something in writing, and I can tell you from what they originally proposed to what was finally done was greatly different. If you remember, they actually wanted to build a brand new 2-story building and then tear down the building that they're in now in order to keep their headquarters here in the city of Brentwood for an expansion. Ultimately, after working with the neighborhood and working with the city of Brentwood, they expanded their parking there and did some renovations to the outside of the building a little bit, and then they moved their headquarters to O'Fallon and built a new bank out there. So the process does work, and the city does take input, and it was after things were in writing that got done when we had a formal proposal before us so we could evaluate. So, Alderwoman Saunders.
On that West Community one, though, in order for them to do the headquarters, would they have had to take homes on Anna Lee?
No, they were going to use the property where they put the parking lot now.
So they didn't need any additional?
No, they own two, right, right.
Okay, and were they, in the initial drawings, were they proposing to take more homes?
No, only the property that they owned.
Okay.
Right, but they weren't taking any. Well, no, we're not.
Okay.
They weren't taking any homes. They
Well, I mean,
owned
that's
the
what I mean.
property.
If they needed additional space and the residents, that would change the process because, we probably wouldn't have entered into eminent domain for that. But anyway.
There's never any talk of eminent domain.
Okay. And I know they ended up locating the headquarters out there. And that's like with the Boys Hope, Girls Hope. I mean, I think the residents would be willing to sit down and talk about their concerns. I mean, some of it is maybe smaller in size, instead of 20, all of a sudden, maybe 10. This is a new process for them. I mean, they have boys out on one campus out at Town and Country, and that house only holds 8, I think they said. And the girls are in Kirkwood, and that only holds 6. Now you're talking about an experimental having 20 and having boys and girls located next to each other at high school levels. And I know they're supervised and stuff, but still, I was talking to one of the gentlemen that happened to be the same faith, and I'm like, Notre Dame, they'll let you drink all you want, but they enforce bridal hours. So that's really, that's kind of, I can understand their concerns, and I hope that they will be meeting with them, because 20, it's like I said, the concept, everything is good. Is this the right location? And is 20, that's a lot. So.
In two separate buildings. I just think, again, we haven't
they
seen
are
the official,
connected.
but they're talking, well, connected. Yes, right. But let's, again, wait and see the proposal before we start making those kinds of statements, so, right. Okay. If we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
Roll call, please.
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
you need to state why.
Huh?
You need to state why we're going into executive
Oh,
session.
for, actually, we do not have a personnel matter. It's
Can we
for.
vote separately on
Huh?
the issues? Vote separately on the issues, please.
We don't need to.
No,
No.
I would like to, though.
Do you want to do that as a motion?
I move that we go into closed meeting for the legal action.
Well, no, make a motion to vote on them separately.
I make a motion that we vote on the closed meeting issues separately.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper?
Yes.
Alderman Nguyen?
No.
Alderman Robertson?
No.
Alderman Kramer?
No.
Alderman Tui?
No.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for legal action and municipal audit and state audit update
So moved.
or analysis?
Second, Your Honor.
I'll second, Your Honor.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper?
No.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
No.
All
And I have a question. Why is it inappropriate to separate those issues? You could have a conflict with one issue and not the other. Why
Well,
would you not separate going into closed
The
session?
board voted.
I'm just asking, though, somebody that voted no. Why? Why? Alderman Nguyen, could you please explain to me why you would?
On here, I like it the way it is, and I voted for it. I don't see a problem with it. Either one, I'm
I mean,
for it.
like, for instance, Alderman Leahy had
Right, aren't we going into-
one issue that he didn't want to participate in prior to, in a previous closed
We simply can
session.
handle them together, and that's fine.
Okay. We are adjourned, and we will meet at 8:50 upstairs.